Sensitivity is intelligence. With grace and skill, you have abundance. Welcome to the Psychic Hour. Host Kelly Brickel is a psychic medium healer, numerologist, and teacher. Her passions are learning about the soul and energy. Whether it's through spirit, emotion, or vibrational numbers, there's always a pathway of information waiting to help. Now, here is your host of the Psychic Hour, Kelly Brickel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to WLTK-DB Let's Talk Radio. It's another lovely Wednesday, and I'm up north in Central California. So I am up helping my family. We're going through a family's house, and we're organizing and moving things and getting things ready to sell. So in the spirit of that, I wanted to talk about the topic of the week on Wednesday being like energy alchemy, because my goodness, just changing states, the power of that and what that can be and what is your power in that. And I just think about just basic alchemy, right? Turning objects into gold. That was the ultimate pursuit, at least, what was talked about the most in alchemy. There was a lot more going on to it than that, but it was taking certain like minerals or elements and turning it into something more valuable. And that's always metaphorically what we can do within our life. And going through, just think about it, just going through a house and reshaping and reorganizing, whether it's the layout, the furniture, making things more clear, open. We can always do that every day within our own house, and we can do that with our energy. Energy healing is about reorganizing, clearing, and sorting things out, lifting the vibration. So we do that with physical things, spiritual things, emotional things, and mental things all day. Like, meditation, we reorganize, we either calm or we heighten our energy depending on what our goal is. And so it's all alchemy, changing states into something more valuable for ourselves. And we can mine gold within that value when other people start going like, wow, your energy is so good. Or, they start responding to the things that we create. And we are actually actively helping to get off the ground or create, like actually within physical form, with the feeling or object or project, right? Or business. People start going, wow, like I feel the specialness of that. Like I want to be a part of that. Or, my friend could use that. Or my mom could really use that, right? And that value you create starts multiplying, and you're literally creating gold from initially what seems like just a drop of a moment of an idea, scarcity from nothingness, you could argue, or just a bit of something. And so, we really are alchemists in our life. I think, we have tremendous possibility to just create as we go along. One of the favorite principles I like too in changing the vibration of a space is when you put music into a room, or, whether it's cranking up the radio or your favorite song, or like using chanting or certain vibrations from instruments that like have certain frequencies. You completely reshape the energy stored in spaces by creating different resonances. And that really does break up sometimes really stagnant emotional energy. And I think, like, these concepts are all overlapping, upon each other with how we hold energy so much within our life. Like, think about it. Like, why can't we do anything we set our mind to? Well, like, we go, gosh, I'm just really overburdened right now. I'm stressed, you know, or I'm not sure how I can do it. And it's like, really, if we were in a state of flow, we'd go like, okay, well, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to learn that, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to make a call with this person. I'm going to start connecting the dots, right? I'm going to start activating. But because of the emotional heaviness, and that can come from memories, that can come from instances within our past with people, belief systems, you know, that is caked within the air of our environment or caked within the air of our inner environment and our inner energy. Um, and we really do have to change the resonance and we have to change state. Um, that's talked about a lot, like in NLP and certain coaching, changing state. And I'll really like to talk to Carol about that too, how she changes state, because I know that's like a big part of her coaching, and her positive focus with her affirmations and how she helps people. And it's so powerful and it's so possible. And sometimes, right, we have these ginormous decisions where we reshape our life or we reshape, you know, our day-to-day routine. And sometimes we just have these little steps, these little steps, these little steps. It could just be waking up at the same time every day. For some people, that's very easy. For other people, that might be very difficult depending on other circumstances. And you're reshaping your energy. Like you're actually tonifying your body just by reshaping the way that, light and like what time your body is like up and about and what hormones are being released because of different rhythms within your body. Like every decision we make is very impactful and very powerful. And I just want to invite people to understand their power. um if you can't reshape everything in your life as you see fit, at least start shaping small things. And as long as you are moving, as long as you are willing, and as long as you go, this doesn't work for me, I'd rather choose this instead, you're being an alchemist. You really are. Um, it's as simple sometimes as choosing a different flavor of ice cream at the grocery store. I'd rather be in this vibration. Maybe strawberry makes you feel more perky than the grounding nature of chocolate, and you need more perky energy. Maybe you need more sunshine energy, or maybe you do need that chocolate to feel more grounded. Depending on the vibration of the foods entering your body, the vibrations of foods that are in your pantry that surround you, all those things promote certain qualities and certain behaviors and certain feelings with what you are bringing into your life. It's not just about what we ingest, but like I said, if it's in your house and you've selected it, it represents something about yourself, the way you feel about things. And if you are not up to date with your feelings, it's time to shift, and it's time to be an alchemist with what you have sitting even in your kitchen. Okay. So, yeah, really, really powerful. And it's fresh in my mind because, we're moving boxes, we're going through certain objects, and we're like, what's the meaning of this? Does this resonate for this person? Ultimately, they're not my thing, so I can't make those decisions, but I can help, cultivate those questions and cultivate like, hey, what would really, really be of greatest importance, or what are some objects that we see that in the future that we can use that are of value, that could be, helpful to shape the things that we want to do, whether it's design of, we really like, the wood of a piece, right? Or the craftsmanship of something. And, that's too good to let go because it's quality and we want to align with quality. Or just, things to hang up on the wall that make you excited to see them every day. So it's like, I'm fresh in that like shape, shifting, energy shifting, releasing kind of mentality. Oh yeah, Alyssa, you're talking about decluttering is good to move energy. Oh my gosh, yes, it's paramount. And we all have clutter. We all have clutter. I realize I have too much. And it's just like, to go easy on ourselves, because I'll make a list, right? This is metaphorical, not just in physical objects, but I'll make a list of all the things I need to do, and that's what really keeps my head straight, because I have a busy mind. Okay. we have so many different environments that our body interacts with on a daily basis. Yeah, maybe our house might be a little bit like bonkers sometimes. But like, what about our head state? We spend so much time in our head state, and my head, unless I meditate, unless I have a moment to go, I feel like Kelly, or let me align with my soul, it can be really flighty. It can be really, really busy because I have all these pings and I go, oh, I need to work on this, or I need to do this, or I need to help out with that. I need to answer this email, right? And so ping, 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 ping. When I just write things on a piece of paper, I have sometimes 30 things that I go, this is important to do for, you know, not only this week, but maybe this day, if I can get that finished. And I go, wow, that's overwhelming. That's overwhelming, right? And so I try to declutter my list and I go, okay, I'll put this on the back burner. That's the goal for the week, but let's try to, you know, get through 5 or 7. And if it's a really crazy day, let's get through 1 or 2. And I'm just going to pat myself on the back and just go, I'm human. I am human, and that's okay. So, coming back to a place of simplicity, right? But ultimately, what do you want to shape? Whether it's shaping how you feel, shaping your anxiety, shaping your confidence, and or shaping how you feel, as a person. And there's so many things that support those goals, and to lean into them. You talked about my head needs to be decluttered too. Yeah, yeah. Think about it. Like and this is important to talk about. Every idea that we've ever had is floating around somewhere within our brain. We can't recall all of them because our brain's not structured really. The normal brain is not structured unless we're like a savant or something to recall all the things that we were thinking about on Tuesday or Wednesday, or what we ordered every day of the lunch. Now we have certain predispositions, right? Certain talents, and our brain works in a certain way depending on who we are as a person or a soul. But it's just like the brain constantly needs to be decluttered because it's so overwhelmed with information. And sometimes it's just not even properly organized. Like I could have all these like folders open and they're actually ready to go and do something glorious. But if they're not organized, they're just going to sit and collect dust because I'm too overwhelmed with what I have because I haven't organized, let's say, the previous day, the previous week, or the previous month, or the previous year in certain categories. And some people, myself included, if something's really like difficult, or let's say you've revisited it before and it's something that you're healing maybe from the past, like with friends or family, and let's say you revisited something difficult, like maybe like 10 times in your life, but you go, hey, there's unfinished business there. I haven't decluttered all of the things that I need to declutter and sort and make peace with. And, you might go, okay, I have to go back to it, but life happens. And then you find, and it's very normal that you don't think about things for some years. You're like, that's something I'm working through, but that's not going to be worked through every day. That's not going to be worked through every month or every year. There's going to be things just swirling around inside of us that are 10, 15, 20 years old, 30 years old, and on and so forth and on and so forth. And they don't gnaw at us every day. They don't, but every once in a while, or on some special years, things gnaw on us more because they're just like, we're ready to be looked at. We're ready to be decluttered. And it's not just clutter. It's really deep, emotional, meaningful stuff. It is, but we're ready to be worked with. We're ready to be changed, transmuted, transformed, right? And all these concepts, I'm telling you, like we are walking alchemists. So I want to give that to you. And we will come back in a moment, and we're going to be having Carol CC Miller with us. And she's a wonderful life coach. And I'm really excited to talk to her. And we will be back in a moment.
Ellie Weisensel's psychic medium is a medical intuitive that specializes as a body code practitioner. As an energy healer, Ellie offers additional services that allow her modalities to be intertwined with energetic healing. Within your subconscious lies information that knows everything about you and why you deal with specific conditions. The subconscious can be considered the blueprint to your entire body. With Ellie working physically with your subconscious mind, we detect what negative emotions are trapped and where they are stored within the body that is causing you your emotional and physical pain. This work is designed to remove imbalances and correct them energetically, getting to the root cause of why you have your condition, to help balance your body so it may heal itself. Your body is infinitely wise and wants to be in balance. The body code is not only gentle for humans, but it is also a gentle process to help animals. For more information, contact Ellie Weisensel at the website below.
Hello, welcome back. And yes, we are going into our interview portion. We're going to be having Carol on in just a minute. And throughout our talks, you can comment or you can ask questions about anything we are talking about, whether it's the coaching sphere or Carol's expertise. That is the time and place to do it here. All right, so let's bring Carol in and give her a warm introduction. Hello. I want to introduce you to everyone. Hello, Carol. Carol C. Miller is a positive life strategist, peace activator, and the founder of Positive Focus and Global Hugs, who ignites people's internal superpowers to embrace living a more meaningful, healthier, and happier life, one positive thought, word, and action at a time. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to show you something really quickly when you were talking about decluttering. I have a deck of cards. It's called the Magic of Unicorns, and I've been using it for a couple months now. And I pull a card first thing in the morning. This card has come up far more than any other card, and I'll read it to you. But it's new opportunities, declutter your life, glimpse at a magical doorway. And when you were talking about it, I mean, I was laughing how many times this card would come up. I'm like, I'm pretty much decluttered. What are you talking about? But there's decluttering in the head that could take place for sure.
Exactly. Head, heart, spirit, right? You know, it's depending on what people's beliefs are, like just from past lifetimes, what we've collected even too, right? Oh gosh, it's kind of like overwhelming at times.
Well, I think to your point though, that's why things they're not always at us and trying to be healed or looked at, because we would not be able to comprehend it all. So it kind of comes up when it needs to. And I mean, that's why, I always tell my clients, you need to feel your feelings about it, because they're not going to go away until they've been looked at, because it's just something within you that is needing that attention and that shift in perspective or forgiveness or whatever it needs. But it'll keep coming back a little louder until you give it permission to speak.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we're really made to be seen, never to be ignored, but we do have to live our life. And so there's that funny dance and balance. And really quick, I want to say hi to Tristan. He's saying hi to us.
Hello.
And yes, Alyssa is saying, she's talking about emotions. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, pop it down, Alyssa. We'll talk about it. When in your life, at what period did you really start to observe within yourself, hey, I really have to listen to myself in a completely different capacity to be comfortable with who I am?
That's a great question. I would love to tell you it was 20 years ago, but I would say it was probably about 15 years ago. I've been a fairly positive person all my life, but prior to getting into the work that I do now, I was that person who would tell you, just be happy, life is good, because I didn't want to deal with my own feelings. So everything was just perfect and fun, and I ignored anything that did not bring me happiness. And then, of course, they kept bubbling up and needed to be discussed and looked at. So the more I got into positive focus and the studies that I have done, it has changed me into the way of feeling that and then still moving forward in a positive way.
Do you find though for a great portion of your life like that tremendous discipline with I'm just going to focus on being happy, I'm just going to shift into the things I like, that it really did work to a point where you're just like this is the way until it didn't work?
It did. And honestly, when I first got into this work, even I was still in the just be happy and focus on the good things, and realized the more I was doing that, the more I was ignoring things that I needed to look at for myself. And it's not about pretending things are perfect, but it is about moving forward in whatever you're dealing with, to be gentle with yourself and move through it, to be able to get to a place where there's compassion and the ability to not let it hold you anymore.
And when you were like a kid or a teenager, a young adult, did you have that tenacity as well? Is that like a part of your personality, or is that something you developed where it's just like, I have to stay positive?
I think that's just my personality. I
That's
just
great
always
though.
been that way. Yeah.
That's like that's a strength. I'm sure a lot of people were like, how do you do it? Or
Well, and they say there's studies that the majority of people are brought into the world with a negative, it's more of a self-protection kind of thing, that there's less people who just naturally focus on the positive, and it's something you need to train yourself to do, where some people, and I'm sure that I'm one of them, that it's natural for me to see the good in the situation, where other people, and it can be done, and it's practice, and it's also, again, not about ignoring the bad part of the situation, but it's finding gentleness and compassion within it.
absolutely. And hello to Jessie Cat. Hello. Can you share like what are some of your favorite ways, whether before like that used as a habit or now that you really turn into like the joy vibration or the happiness or gratitude vibration?
Yeah, well, and you spoke of it earlier. One of my big ways is music. I almost always have some form of music. And when you were talking about it, I also found it interesting. Sometimes I can listen to sad music, and in a way, it makes me peaceful and happy. But if I'm in a sad place myself, then that sad music brings me further into being sad. So it's really about where I'm at. But like I have a joy playlist that I have on a lot, whether it's calming music or a higher vibration music. But music is definitely one of them. Being in nature, doing things that I love to see in nature, sailing is definitely one of them. And gratitude. Gratitude is a huge practice of mine, to even when things are really hard for people, there are things to be grateful for. And my mom passed away, it'll be 4 years ago. Yeah, 4 years ago this December. But she had to use oxygen for the last several years of her life. I have never in my life asked my body to breathe for myself. Like, so when things are really hard, go back into things that we take for granted. Like, I'm breathing on my own, my heart is beating on my own. If I needed medical intervention, we have medical intervention to help people breathe and to help people with their heart issues. So it's really about finding the things that we often take for granted when things are really tough.
Absolutely. And then when you find yourself being, because all the emotions are valuable, they
Yeah.
really are. But when you find things surfacing, do you now let yourself sit in that a little bit longer to understand that rather than transmuting it right away?
It Yes, and it just depends on the moment, because sometimes I'll feel a feeling of, unworthiness or frustration or whatever, and as soon as I think of why am I going there, it dissolves. And other times it's like, oh no, I need to sit with this for a minute, and sometimes it's a few minutes, and depending again on what it is, sometimes it could be several hours that I need to, but it's really about being aware of the feeling instead of being on autopilot and just staying in frustration and not even being aware that I'm frustrated, which I can do as well. So it's really about being aware of how you feel, and moving forward from there.
That why is really powerful. Do you find yourself cultivating it through like journaling, meditation, or any other prompts?
You would think, because I'm a writer, I love writing. I rarely ever journal, Most of mine is just in my head that I think things through and work through it. I start listening to music or I'll go for a walk or something like that. But I'm not my meditation is like when I'm sailing or when I'm doing something out in nature. But to sit for 30 minutes, you mentioned on the beginning that your mind is very busy. Mine is as well. And I probably should take up the practice of meditation to support my busy mind, but I am not a big meditator.
I think like we go through cycles too. We
Yeah,
have these certain big helpers, and we just know, I think we can't deny the power of it, but we go sometimes, hey, like sometimes I don't always gravitate to that. I have other tools, but I don't deny its power?
absolutely. And I do a lot of guided meditations. I'm able to do that, but to sit in silence is not my strong suit.
I agree. It's not taught to us. Like throughout our lives, what are you doing? What are you working on? Um, you know, get up and do something, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you find when you are too still, do you find that you want to move even if you just find yourself kind of like in that moment?
Yes, or I'm playing music. Like I'm very seldom am I
Oh,
still. So it's usually like even when I sleep, I have like guided meditations to go to sleep. I have some type of sound going.
gotcha. But that's like pretty helpful, pretty big to have that in your corner.
Yeah.
Guided meditations are beautiful. What have you found yourself diving into these past months this year? The year turns so quickly, but we find ourselves in kind of these unique places of this year. I'm working on this, and I have a focus of that. So where do you find yourself in these last couple months?
Yeah, I would say really a lot with compassion. Several of my clients are going through some pretty hard things in their lives. And it's interesting because I'm a big believer in law of attraction. And one of them was talking to me in a blame way about because they're not manifesting it quick enough. And I'm like, there's so many things that go on besides what our thoughts are. And so it's really about leaning into compassion for yourself and others. So I would say that that's been my biggest learning experience these last few months. Just in my personal life, I've had an unexpected death, an unexpected hospitalization, and an expected birth. So all of those happening within a couple of weeks each other, it's like you have to learn how to deal with the highs of the joy of the birth and the sorrows from the passing of someone.
What has the compassion cultivated within your life? The the
Uh,
the the emotion coming in, what do you find yourself doing differently because of this vibration of compassion?
I would say probably just less. I'm not a very judgmental person anyway, but it really reminds me when I get into that space of thinking why somebody's doing that or isn't doing that is I don't know their backstory to what brought them to that place. So I can find compassion. I may disagree still with what's going on, but I can find compassion for it. So I think for me, compassion is the way for peace.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I wanted to ask you too. So you've been pulling. I'm bouncing around a bit, but you've been pulling like a lot of the unicorn cards. What are they called again?
They're called the magic of unicorns.
The magic of unicorn. They're so pretty. I really like that. Have you been using oracle cards as a way to understand about yourself and to? Oh, go ahead. Go, yes.
Yeah, I don't really use them really with clients. I have a Facebook group and I pull cards for people a few different times during the week and I use them that way. But yeah, I like to just pull one out just for some guidance. And sometimes I will
Absolutely.
say I disagree with. I'm like, this card is not meant for me. So I have to figure out why. Because like again, why I got that declutter card so many times. I must have gotten like every other day for a while. So
I
it's
remember seeing that too, and
yeah,
I was like, "That's cool. That's cool." But if if they come 5 times, they come 5 times, and it's just like, yeah, it's odd. You're like, what more do I have to say about this?
yeah, exactly. What am I ignoring about this? Thank you very much.
And well, like the group energy needs it. Apparently, the group energy.
Yeah.
How have you? I guess to been blending some of your intuitive knowledge, like pulling cards, or other things that you've learned? Because that's I'll reference it. Like last show I had you on, I was like, oh, like how I became to know you was through like Celebrate Your Life, and the people and connections through that, and also like Lisa Williams, and that was like the very intuitive sphere. And then like I learned about your coaching and everything. I'm just like, this is so wonderful. So I'm wondering, like, how have there been crossovers, or how did you integrate? How did you, because Celebrate Your Life has so many teachers, right?
Right.
How did they, I guess, influence you? Or then as you moved forward with going like full fledged with your business, just, I'm going to focus on this. Did you bring in like that intuitive knowledge?
Yeah, I would say at first I was, I don't want to say I was hiding from it, but I was pretty much ignoring it because again, there was a comparison. Because I am not a psychic. I cannot tell you what's going to happen in your life, Kelly, in 3 weeks or something like that. I'm not that kind of intuitive, I guess I should say. But it was really about not feeling that I had that skill set to even use. So I've always used it behind the scenes, I guess. So it's been more just in the last year or so where I've spoken about it a little bit more.
Absolutely. I think that if someone is curious enough, you know, everybody can tap into it, because I think, like, I want to give you some credit. Like when you're with your clients, I'm sure you can sense if they have a goal, like, oh, your energy is ready to go with that goal, or wow, we need to work on some things before you get that goal. And that's telling the future. That is.
Okay, I hadn't thought of it that
It's
way.
Yeah, seriously, it is. And then it comes, it become, more pieces where it looks more to be a certain way, where you can say A, B, and C, but
Yeah,
it's all in that principle. Where is that person's energy? And you tap into that all day long when you're dealing with your clients.
that's true. And I think that the feeling of energy, I think most people have that ability and they don't even recognize it. Like you walk into a room and you can feel that people are in joy, or you could feel that it's a heavy room of negativity or whatever. So I think when you start paying attention and honing in on that, then you're able to, like if I were to walk into a room of people who have that higher energy and are in it, I can address them in a different way than if I'm walking into a room where they're struggling with something and the energy is low. So it's really about, kind of knowing your audience on who you're dealing with and meeting them where they are, and also not joining them where they are. I really am a big believer that if there's two tables, 8 people at both tables, one table is full of people who are just have the best news of their lives. So they're all excited. And you step into that table, you're probably going to match their energy. Same as the table who everybody's mourning and talking about the loss of someone, you're probably going to match their energy too. If you've been working on it enough, you can be in the morning table and maintain your energy, and you can be in the positive table and maintain your energy. But it takes work to do that. We tend to match the energy that we surround ourselves by.
Absolutely. And like I find that you match the greatest intensity, whether it's the group's energy or the intensity of your heart, right?
Yeah.
That you cultivate. Like I need to be this way because this is me, right?
Yeah. And Tristan, I think it's so easy to match the energy of other people. And the more that you learn who you are, even when I was talking about music, if I'm in a certain energy space where I just want to hear the melancholy music, but I'm not actually sad, I can listen to the beautiful music and it does not bring me down. But if I'm already in a space of sadness and then I listen to sad music, it brings me down further into where I don't want to be. So it's really about knowing where your energy is and then finding the people who are going to help lift you up, not make you be better or do differently, but just to support you where you are.
Absolutely. I think like that was, and let me know if you have any insight too. I think that was really such a saving grace for me, like going to Celebrate Your Life, because the energy was so high there. The energy is so loving and so hot, and it's such a fantastic conference. So like for anyone out there, if there's like a group where you're just like, I love the energy, or there's like a special person or a special even subject matter that just completely uplifts you and transforms you when you're a part of it, like go there whenever you can, because that energy at Celebrate Your Life for me when I was like younger, I was like, oh, people can actually feel like this and it's not, they're not putting on a front. Does that make sense?
It
You
does.
know?
It absolutely does. And it's really important to know, the people that you want to surround yourself with. My philosophy is I love everyone. I have no conditions on my love. My conditions have come on participation with people. So it's really about finding the people, not judging them like that's just not my group or this is my group, but to find the people who are going to support you in showing up as your best self as you help support them. And I see Alyssa's comment about how do you feel angry? No one's taught us that. That is a great, great question, Alyssa. I shouldn't say that. My anger resides in my thoughts. Words are incredibly powerful to me, so I rarely use angry words and I rarely do angry actions, but I can have angry thoughts. So it really is about it's okay to feel them. It's okay to express them in a healthy manner. One of the ways that I do it is when I'm not a journaler, but I will write down, like if I'm super mad at somebody, I might write them a letter and then I shred it. I'm not going to send it to them. If it's something that still needs to be addressed with them, I may rewrite it in a way that they can hear it. But I don't know about you. And thankfully, it rarely has happened in my life. But when people are yelling at me, I have shut down. They may have an actual reason to be mad at me, but I'm not even listening to that because I've gone into self-protection mode. I'm not hearing what they have to say because they're yelling. So if you come and say to me, that really hurt my feelings, where we can discuss it, then I can either apologize or we can discuss that wasn't my intent or those kinds of things. But a lot of times when we're using anger to protect ourselves, people aren't able to hear it anyway. So it's really, I would encourage you to come up with a process for you that you get the anger out of your body, but it's not expressed to somebody else. And often our anger is displaced emotion. So you might be mad at your mom, your dad, or sibling, and then you go to work and a coworker happens to say something and you spew all your anger on that person when it's really wasn't theirs to begin with. So I think it's important to still express it, to feel it, but to express it in a way that's healthy for you and for anyone around you.
Absolutely. I think that's so important to talk about because emotions are sacred. Emotions are like tools. They really, really are. But I don't think they're meant to be shared with everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you're talking about like that anger. It's like that anger is really important to know about, but that doesn't mean we start blasting it out to everybody. And other people haven't learned as well that it shouldn't be shared a certain way, possibly. Okay. So I'm not putting like it should be this way or that way, but all of a sudden,
right.
mom and dad or brother and sister, they just start blasting our anger. Think about it. When they did it to us, we're like, I don't like this. Why would I like this? And then sometimes we adopt behavior of, well, that's just the way it is. And it's just like, it
Yeah.
doesn't feel good. Why would we want it to be that way?
Well, and people often react rather than respond. So if you take a step back and somebody's made you angry, take a step back, maybe leave the area or whatever, but you're able to take a moment for yourself to breathe, then you're going to respond to it rather than just react and spew on people. And again, I have not said this, but I'm not a big believer in absolutes, always, never, right or wrong. So there may be a situation out there that spewing anger is absolutely appropriate in that manner. I would say the vast majority of times it's not going to get you any further or the other person involved.
Right. Right. It's true. It's almost like for whatever reason, something has reached its tipping point and
Yeah.
we kind of we reach our limit. And when we reach that limit of, I wouldn't say it's helplessness, but we're like, I can't cope, right? I can't
Right.
cope. And so I'm this right now. And to send that out to someone else, I want you to feel what it feels like to not cope and what it feels right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't really help much. It really doesn't. the compassion of it, like, wow, are you okay? You don't seem well. What's been going on? That would help. But we haven't been, you know, raised in a way as a society, or most times a family, to be like, hey, are you okay? It's just all of a sudden like, well, why are you being like that?
Yeah.
Like,
We tend to escalate rather than de-escalate
yeah,
situations.
there you go. Perfectly said. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I haven't done this in a bit, but I remember, I don't know if I like was listening to something and it sparked this idea. I don't remember the inception of it, but I noticed that there was like a lot of like anger vibration with like certain people that I was around. And I was just like, wow, this is so unnecessary. But logically, it was not possible to come to that conclusion because they were so ignited. Does that make sense? So
Right.
anything
Oh,
that I would
absolutely.
say, it would just, the energy would remain. So I just started breathing as the person would talk, very like just, and it literally, like, it would just de-escalate the situation because they started feeling that energy and they couldn't feel angry anymore. They just started
Yeah.
feeling like less and less tense, right?
That is such a great example. And I use this example. One of my favorite teachers was Wayne Dyer, and he was big on maintaining his own energy to the point that if his kids were arguing, he might leave the room or whatever. And so sometimes you get up and leave. And then I'm not a big Course in Miracles person, so I don't know which one this is, but it's such an impactful one to me. Is sometimes you're in the room to heal the room. And that doesn't mean me telling that person, stop being mad and stop yelling, you're being a bully. It might be me just being there quiet, holding the space of breathing and helping. All of our energy, and I'm using an absolute, does impact other people. If somebody is coming from such an incredibly hurt space, they may not completely feel it, but it's still going to have an impact. It may not impact them where they're acknowledging it in the moment, but a vibration of love is going to impact anyone. So if you're able to bring more love, peace, calm, and compassion to that situation, then it's going to be better for you or the others. But if I'm in a space where they're triggering me because they're so angry, again, it's matching energy. If I stay there, I'm going to start complaining along with them about whatever the world woes are. So then I leave because I don't want to match that energy. So it's about, again, knowing where I'm at. Am I able to stay in the room to heal the room, or not heal it, but to help in the room? Or do I need to leave the room to help the room?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Cause like that whole simplicity of, is it de-escalating or
Yeah.
is it escalating? Like, is it becoming more reactive? Is it becoming more conscious? And yeah, a lot of our emotions are very reactive. And so, sometimes it's like, what's the point to even talk about anger? Like, sometimes it just happens and it's just like the anger or the sadness is coming from a symptom that needs to be like looked at and helped and healed, because no one wants to continue to feel angry or sad. And it's just, we can't achieve that being reactive. We can't. So,
And
oh, go ahead. Go
a
ahead.
lot of times under the anger is actually hurt. So we mask
Absolutely.
the hurt by being angry, and we don't want to look at the hurt. And sometimes we're mad at A when the hurt is coming from somebody 5 years ago that we haven't healed from, but we're not ready to face it yet. So it's really good to look at that. And Tristan, you said that you shut down and need that space. Fully agree with that. I don't know who the relationships are that you're talking about, but if it's a close relationship, I would just let them know, like, I need my space right now. Because if you walk away, then they're playing in their mind something far worse than what you're even probably feeling, because they're making up their own story about it. So just let somebody know that you need time to move through it yourself, if it's a safe place for you to say that.
I think the strongest. So Tristan is talking about having to um, talk about when you're ready, or the reference of walking away, right? That's, I think, can be some of the most helpful things to do for yourself in certain contexts. Sometimes you need to stick through. Don't get me wrong, you need to stick through and work it through in some
Right.
contexts. But the number one thing that gave me the ability to feel like, okay, I can navigate my emotions really effectively was to be strong in understanding who I was. And so I know, like, we're circumventing for a second, but it's just like going to places that made me feel like, wow, like I want to be like this and I want to maintain this. And like I'm proud to be in these spaces. I'm proud to be around these people. I felt that energy. I felt the emotions when I was there. I'm like, I want to always feel like this. And I feel like I have the power. Of course, I can't always feel like that
Yeah.
because I'm always changing and shifting, but I have a certain standard or a certain feeling that I go, I feel most like myself when I'm like this. And so
Yeah.
I keep that intention with me, and I don't find myself easily rocked. But then when I am, I go, wow, I notice how, like, wow, I don't feel like myself. I'm like, I really got to look at something. Something's not right within me. I got to step away for a second if I need to. And that's like my barometer. So I want to, let's see, Jessie Cat is talking about to go into questions. Okay, she's talking about, yes, even while sleeping, um, you can't sleep sometimes because you're thinking and thinking. Why do I wake up sometimes without energy? Um, like you work so hard and you just wake up tired without energy and drained.
I think a lot of times, Jessica, that is also taking that energy to bed with you. So something that I would encourage you to do is to do some what you appreciated about the day before you go to bed. Do not, please don't watch the news for. I mean, I'd encourage people to lessen watching the news anyway, but don't watch it right before you go to bed because that just puts chaos in your head. So do some gratitude. One of the things that I do, and I don't do it a lot, but if I've had a really tough day, I will get in the shower and I will just see all of that energy go down the drain. So put that out there and get it off out of your body and out of your system. Do some gratitudes and maybe think of some things before you go to sleep on what you're looking forward to. I think a lot of times we think about how hard the next day is going to be. Maybe it's a busy day and we got too much going on. But don't take that into your sleep. Just give yourself some reasons to be excited about the next day and bring gratitude into your sleeping experience.
That's a really good point because we take on so much, and when we accumulate, that's when, we're kind of talking about it earlier. When we accumulate so much, our mind can get cluttered because when there's an excess, your mind goes, oh, and this and this and this and this and this and this and
Yes.
this and this.
This was years ago. I used to watch, and I have not watched it in years, but I used to watch before bed the Forensic Files. And I called my mom I don't know, it's probably been a few months. I'm called, Mom, I am having the worst nightmares ever. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. She's like, what are you watching before you go to bed? I'm like, Forensic Files. She's like, stop watching that. And it really helped. So I do not watch anything scary or of that sort before bed because my mind definitely is active. So I need to do some calming things before going to bed.
It really goes a long way. Absolutely. Um, do you find when you have that calm routine or, make sure that's in place for yourself? Do you find yourself refreshed? Is there any times where you still wake up drained and you're like, well, what's that attached to?
Yeah, sometimes I still do. I have to say I don't like to affirm this, but I am not the best sleeper. So I often wake up several times. But it's really, again, about we've been taught that you have to have this amount of sleep to be ready, and your body does need sleep. I'm not telling you to try to um, tease yourself out of it, but I just remind myself I still can change and shift in the morning. My mornings start with gratitude. So I'm bringing that in. I start with a process where I call in my team to support me through the day and to show me signs that they're with me for the day. And I give them instructions on what I would like them to help me with and move forward with that as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's like a very powerful, like sitting in the power, like foundation to your day.
Yeah, and if I know I'm having a tough meeting or just like my energy's drained, I will then like, hey team, I need you here right now. So they're probably like, Carol, leave us alone.
I think their job is to help things be as good as possible, so they're happy to be along.
That's why I'm like, help me with my work. That's what I want you to help me with. So
It's really true, like, to step into a place where we're directive with our energy, rather than being reactive, right?
yeah,
Directive and in flow. And yeah, like when we accumulate, like I think that's the theme. That seems to be the clutter thing. When we're accumulating too much, we just can't maintain that. It's too much to maintain. And so I know that, sometimes holding space, you have to be a container for a person. So I'm sure you feel this, Carol. Sometimes you're a container for just
yeah,
emotions for other people. And sometimes we don't always remember to wash those things off, but
right.
when you
Absolutely.
feel them, yeah, that's why sometimes when I'm done with this show, sometimes, or like, I'll do a reading show, right? On Fridays, I'll change my clothes and I'll go, ah.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to do. And it's really important. And it's definitely a practice because it's something I practice, but to observe rather than absorb. And I can easily go into absorbing the emotion and the energy around me. So I have to remember because I will also get into a space of taking responsibility. Like, I need to fix this. Like, why are all these people upset and protesting or whatever? And it's that's not my job to do. So it's really about observing the situation rather than absorbing. So that's something that I encourage you to pay attention to when your emotions start getting the best of you. And again, emotions are not bad or wrong. It's just moving through them. But when they're starting to overtake you where you're not in control of them, to start realizing, I must be absorbing rather than observing right now. And I agree with you, Jessica, on the your soul leaving the body.
Do you ever feel like when you're doing tremendous soul work or emotional work that when you wake up, even though you've been, moving and shifting in a positive way, that you are feeling drained because you're doing so much?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to be gentle with yourself. You mentioned it in the beginning. Like they say, we're a human body, but spirit, but we are human still. Like if we were just pure spirit, we would not need feelings and emotions and that the part of us that is human is not bad or wrong. It's part of experiencing life. If we just experience joy, we'd start taking it for, we wouldn't even notice it anymore because we didn't have experiences where this hurt to realize how good this was. So it's really about for me to be gentle with yourself, whatever you're going through, and take a step forward to feel a little bit better.
And that like contrast in the human experience, like Tristan had a question, or like a question and a comment, I think, earlier. And I think this is a really good one to like further go into. He says, about the battle of trying to be positive and negative. It seems like it's always a battle for him.
Mm, that's a great idea. And what I work on, because again, I'm not a big absolutist, so I work on a scale of 0 to 100, 0 being always negative, 100 being always positive. I don't know anybody at 0 and I don't know anybody at 100. So if you think about it, so my work personally is to be at the 90 to 100% positive, kind, compassionate, and loving and peaceful, because those are my top values. But that means frustration, anger, unworthiness, all of those disappointment, they all visit me. But when I'm aware of it, I can shift. But if you're at 51%, that means you're in the majority of time in a positive space. You don't have to be at 90. If you're at 40%, doesn't make you a bad or wrong person. It's just where you are right now. And when you're aware of it, you could say, nope, I need to be here for a while. I need to feel this. Or you take a step to feeling a little bit better. But I think, Tristan, if you take away the judgment on yourself on where you're at any given moment, it won't be a struggle. It's just where you're at. Right now, I'm not happy, or right now, I'm peaceful, or right now, I'm excited. But it's really about being okay with where you're at because the awareness of it allows you to shift.
Absolutely. He also mentions, because we were talking about being an observer versus an absorber. I'm an observer by nature, just sit back and chill for the most part. But if the energy changes in a room, I got to go. LOL. I got to go.
But see, I think what you're observing in that moment of having to leave is, and maybe it's unconscious, but you're realizing you're starting to absorb it. So that's why you're leaving. If you were able to stay in the observation mode, you could probably say if you wanted to. So my guess is you're probably starting to absorb it. And I don't know of anybody who doesn't absorb the energy around them, but it's about being aware of it to know, am I in charge of me right now, or is the energy of others in charge of me right now?
Absolutely. I think, when we are in a room and, there's a party going on and it's like good vibrations and everyone is just grateful or happy to be there, good food, good atmosphere. Like you're naturally you want to absorb that. Like that's like vitality, health, like everyone's uplifting each other, or like love when there's a loving family and hugs and support. You need to absorb that, right?
Yeah,
Like it's part of our growth. It's part of our alignment. But yeah, I think like yeah, like it goes into like the whole vein. You're talking about like it's been a year of compassion, and compassion for me at least, and empathy go really strongly together. So the more I'm um I guess at peace with compassion and empathy, the better I can navigate absorbing. And I either go, hey, I don't think it's a good idea to absorb this right now. And then like I'll leave, step, outside. Or sometimes I'll be like, you know what? I'm okay to be here as this is going on because I feel strong and right within myself. And you were mentioning that
absolutely. Yeah.
earlier, Carol.
I think that's the important part, is to know that, because again, compassion doesn't mean you're in agreement with the other, whatever's going on. It doesn't mean that there aren't consequences if something is harmful to others going on, but it does mean that you're able to realize, right or wrong, there's a backstory that's going on that has brought that person to that point. So compassion is probably my favorite word right now.
Passion is fun. It really is. Jessica talks about how like Diet in an earlier show was talking about like protecting your energy, like creating a light bubble around you so you can hold space, hold your energy, regardless of what's happening around you. So do you use like any energetic protection or visualization?
I tend to forget to do that, but I do that on occasion. But I've taught my nieces, she's 8, so her energy bubble is purple with glitter, or she changes different colors. 'Cause I'm like, you can change different colors to it, kind of thing. So I do it, but it's usually a friend reminding me when I'm frustrated about. She's like, "Did you protect yourself today?" I'm like, "No, I really didn't." But I also, the protection. I struggle with the word, not struggle. I grapple with the word protection, because there's nothing I need to be protected from, if that makes sense. So it's really about, if I'm maintaining my energy and my strength of who I am, then whatever is going on the outside cannot impact me as much. So it goes either way. Like I can either do the bubble, or I tend to more just work on myself.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a great thing to talk about because sometimes the word protection like then makes our intention to be about what we are isolating ourselves from
Yeah,
or what we're fearful. And I think that it's always um helpful to be like while you're maintaining your vibration to say, hey, I'm taking mastery over it,
right.
Um
Absolutely.
and and just
And
be aware what we're manifesting as we're saying things.
yeah. And to be aware that, because I think sometimes we can get in that space of, we just said, oh my gosh, like it's the majority of the time. So if you say a couple of like, this is a, I don't even like saying it, it's an awful day. If you say it a couple of times, you're not going to manifest an awful day. It's how often, and are you really thinking it? So it's besides the words you're using, it's the feelings behind it. And it goes back to when we were talking about staying in the room to heal it or leaving the room to heal it. When you know where you're at, then you can make that decision too. But it's really important to know that it's practice, and you're not going to get it right all the time, and that's okay. and you just go back and start again and be gentle with yourself in this human experience of this beautiful and messy life we have.
Absolutely. Um, I will share a story really quick about like Jessica was talking about, bubbles of energy, like bubbling your energy up. And I visualize color a lot. Like, so I'm a very visual person. And sometimes if I do feel like really anxious or really emotional, I'll send myself certain colors and it will help
Ooh.
like balance me. Or sometimes if I'm just really over, like when I don't feel strong, because sometimes we feel run down and
Oh,
tired, right?
absolutely.
And I will like I'll imagine like a shield like around me because I go, okay, like I just feel like I'm gonna get hit a little bit hard because I just don't have my chutzpah to
Yeah.
maintain. So I'm gonna send myself an additional layer of a color that represents a certain vibration. And it really does go such a long way for me. The final thing I'll say is, so I have 4 cats, right? And all of them actually get along really well, but we have this one really emotional boy and he's such a sweetheart. He really is. He's like the biggest like,
So
cuddle
did you keep
like
the
just
two you
little.
adopt that you were fostering?
Yeah, yeah. So we had, and you were right. You were like, I remember when I posted, like almost 2 years ago, I posted the 2 I was fostering because we already had 2.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, there's no way we're gonna actually take on 2 more. And you're like, oh, are you gonna adopt them? And I was just like, oh, that's in the air. Yeah, but there's no way. But you're right, right? Like we wound up adopting them. So we have 4, 2 girls, 2 boys and 2 girls. They came in that order, and like sometimes that little emotional boy, like he's very sweet to them, and other times he's very reactive with his emotions sometimes because he's just so, I don't know, he's such a feeler. And like sometimes if there's like a new food out that he really loves, and like he'll get super excited about it, and then he's like, it's mine, and he'll start biting the girls because he's like, no, this is mine, you can't have any, I like it too much, right? Or if there's a toy, right? Or if I'm petting him a lot, he'll be like, back off, like, she's mine. Like he gets a little bit possessive, and none of the other cats really have that issue. And so, like, he'll actually get too much into that energy and he'll chase them around and try to bite them and stuff. And they're like, stop it, stop it. And he doesn't know how to listen because he's so in that emotion.
Yeah.
And so I bubbled in my mind, connected to their energy. I bubbled the girls in silver energy, and he immediately stopped chasing them around, immediately stopped biting them, and he just started playing with them. And it diffused the energy, it transmuted the energy. And so
I love it.
yeah, I'm like, for me, it works. There's so many stories with how color, and it's just so are there any things that you use where you're like, wow, like that completely changed the vibration of the people, or that completely changed the vibration of the environment or myself?
I would say, like, I tend to call on my team again, but I think the bubbles absolutely work, and I'm going to use it differently because, again, I'm not fond of it being a safety measure, but just you talking about shifting the energy, and it's an impactful way to work. I remember a good friend of mine, and she uses it all the time. We were walking in Chicago a couple years ago, and there was a street person who was telling everybody that they were sinning for all sorts of reasons. And like he was getting right in their faces. I'm like, oh, here we go. We're going to have to walk through him. We walked through him. He said nothing to us. I'm like, how did that happen? She's like, because I put a bubble around us. I'm like, oh, okay. So it really does help. And she had an experience where she did that and almost got hit by a car because she was making herself invisible. So she's like, okay,
Oh.
I can't do that anymore.
For real. No, and I think it's important to talk about, yeah, like, so it like maintains or amplifies, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good
Yeah.
tool.
Yeah. And like sometimes, goodness, we need an amplifier.
Absolutely.
But that's true. Like you can actually use it to, we talk about amplifying, but she, in that case, your friend you're referencing, she didn't want to be seen, so she amplified
Yeah.
to not be
Right.
seen. You know what I mean? And that's a very real thing. Like we had someone on the show too, Spiritual Blacksmith, and she was talking about like she goes to a bunch of different countries around in the world, and so she like cloaks her energy if she's in kind of a country where she doesn't know exactly the culture or, what's going to happen. She just cloaks herself in this energy so she is not seen, where if anybody has certain intentions, they don't even know she's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really interesting. And the one time that she didn't really think about it, she was talking about on the show, the one time she didn't really think about it, her friend that was traveling with her was very anxious. And so her energy was offset. And that's the only time in the history of her traveling that she got pickpocketed. A motorcycle came up and then just grabbed their stuff. Yeah. So yeah, emotion. Oh my gosh, emotion and intention. Oh gosh, it is powerful.
It is absolutely powerful, but I would also say with that bubble exercise, you need to believe it to be true too. Like if you put that on you and like that's not going to work, and you're thinking about all the pickpockets around you, you're lessening the potency of that. So, hold the intention that this bubble is going to be protective of you and keep you in the higher vibration that you want to be in.
And truly believe it. Truly believe it, whether it represents a picture, a feeling, a sound, a word.
Yeah. And start
the-
small. Start on something
Yeah.
that isn't mission critical for you to just get your, it built up that you do see that it's working. Like Kelly's example of how it worked in her cats. Do something that it's not going to harm you if it didn't work, but to build up that muscle that you realize that bubble is very powerful.
Absolutely. I think like what you're saying, like you have to believe a lot of like energetic understanding of how I feel and sense and see energy. It's based on principles of me practicing why I believe it and why it's so important and what intention I put into it. And, it can just happen as soon as you intend it, but sometimes you go and sit back and start to understand, well, what makes this so powerful? Why would it even work in the first place? And when you start understanding, because you're putting all this emotion and thought into what this is to you, that you're helping to attract to you, that's when it becomes, I think, quite powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really, again, goes back to the percentage. Like the more you practice it, the stronger you're going to be with it. So some days you might be at a 40% and need a boost, but you know to have that boost. Some days where you're the 60%, it's going to be even stronger for you because you're that much further into believing its possibility. I think it's important to get curious about things. Like when we're coming from curiosity rather than it didn't work, I wonder if it would work. I wonder if doing gratitude at night is going to make my sleep better, and get curious about it than just going into the assumption, well, it's never worked before, so I wonder if it'll work this time. And just be curious about it and play with it.
Absolutely. I'll just take the question too. Someone's asking about the color. What color do you imagine your bubble to get energy back, to not feel drained? And then you can talk about what colors, if you use colors anywhere within your work to help cultivate certain emotions or feelings too, Carol. I change the colors I use. Sometimes I use blue because I just feel like it's a very calming, and I use like a indigo blue, or sometimes a deep medium blue. And I don't know, I feel like it's just calming, and I just feel strong within it. Like it reinforces my mental affirmation and intention of this is how it will be. And I use silver a lot, and silver to me is connected to the angelic realm. And I just feel very divinely just supported when I use silver. But I change things. Sometimes it's pink, sometimes it's green. And so find what certain colors mean to you and amplify those intentions.
Yeah, I like
Carol,
that. I tend to use like greens, like I'm ocean colors, so I tend to use that, or yellow. I'm a big sun vibrant person, so I'll use yellow as well.
How do the ocean colors and the yellow, how do they make you feel? Like, what is the visceral emotion?
The visceral is for ocean is power and calm together, because just the power of the waves. And then the sun, it's more of a higher energy, fun, joyful kind of feeling.
And, you know, the questions we're getting like, oh, like, how can I do it? It's like, it really goes back to the why, you know? And so discussions like this between me and Carol and all of you, we're diving into the whys. You know, we got curious and we're like, we use this and in this way. And it's based on the foundation of this and this. And then it kind of like creates all these aha moments.
Well, and I think it's important because the why part, but some of these tools, which are excellent tools, like journaling, it's a fabulous tool to use. I don't tend to use it, which is surprising to me because I love writing, but it just does not resonate with me. It could resonate with each one of you. Kelly, I don't know, do you journal? But so there's many different varieties of tools out there to help you. You just need to find the ones that resonate with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, I do think when we have a goal, an intention, or like, you know, something like journaling, like I journal, but I don't journal as much as I like. I really don't. And I'm always like, I'm not meeting that goal quite the right way. But I don't lose sight of that goal. And it lets me know, like, wow, I need to work on things within myself. And I don't try to beat myself, you know, up about it. I just go, like, you know, healings need more focus is needed. And then I just try to lean into that.
Excellent.
What do you do when you, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, just get curious about it.
Just get curious. The curious and the why comes back.
Yeah.
With certain goals that you have that, you know, you're like, I really want to do this, but you haven't completed. When you're in that in-between state, what do you do for yourself?
I definitely go back to the why. Why do I even want the goal? I'm also not a big fan of the word goal. I'm a word sensitive person. And so goal just almost seems like it's set up for failure to me. So I like to use yeah, exactly. I like to use the word experience. What do I want to experience? And so if the experience isn't coming as quickly, and trust me, I am not a patient person, so almost anything doesn't come as quickly as I would like. But it's really to go back, why do I want this experience? What step can I do right now? And it might just be believing that I'm worthy of it. It might be to do some affirmations. It might be to call somebody or make an appointment. But what can I do right now to move it a little bit forward? I think a lot of times we want a goal or experience, and we go to the big leaps of getting there rather than the small little steps that will keep us moving forward. So I go back to, what can I do right now? Just a small step to keep me towards what I'm wanting to do.
Absolutely. And I love, you know, word sensitivity. I can relate to that. I'm very word sensitive too, but I love experience because it is so much more open ended. You're exactly right on that. And it is more feeling based. Like when I just hear you say it, you know, the why is so powerful. So you said, I'm an impatient person. Can I ask why you're an impatient person? I'm curious.
I think it's just that my mind is always so busy. And so I'm always coming up with new ideas and visioning new things for a global scale or anything. So it's really about I'm very passionate about the work I do. So the fact that for me, if people felt seen and heard, they would be far less likely to harm themselves and others. So it's really, for me, the impatience on not getting that message out to help people heal and to move forward. So it really is about, I need to step back and not own the responsibility of all of that and just take my steps forward and doing what I can do.
You're very passionate. That's good though.
I am
like
very
that.
passionate.
Jessie Cat is asking about, can you feel spirits? And you were referencing that you start a lot of times your day with a team, checking with your team.
Yeah, I do check in with my team. I don't know that I necessarily feel them. I see things every now and then, and I get a lot of signs. I have to share the sign with you that I just got last week. I send out a weekly email, something to help people, have a more positive focus in their life. And I sent it out on Friday, which I usually send it out earlier in the week. And I went back to check the stats and stuff, and I noticed a name of somebody who opened it, who passed away 2 years ago. And she was a good friend of mine. And so I took a picture like, wow, that's so surprising. And I sent it to a friend. And then the next day I went back because I'm like, that was an awful picture. I want to get a better picture of the sign that she's there. And her name was no longer there in the list. I went to her contact list, where you could see like Kelly Brickel, she's opened 5 emails or whatever. None of them had been open in years. So it was just like, okay, so she was popping in to say hi. So I get signs like that, and I see things every now and then, and I'll hear things every now and then. But I am not really much of a feeler. I guess more of a knower than a feeler.
It sounds like it's working in your life, though. It's
working.
It's in effect.
Yes.
Wow, that is amazing. Of you had to take the picture then.
Yeah, because I would have been gone the next day. So I'm glad I took it.
It's just like, wow. It's funny. Like, spirit comes in a lot, and it's just like, why would I do this?
Yeah.
Like, I don't. If this, why would I do this in this way too? But then, lo and behold, I love stories like that. Alyssa says, I like experience so much better. She's word sensitive too, so that's excellent. Jessica is talking about how, yes, I see on your left side spirit. She's talking about how she sees, are you talking about you see left side of, what am I trying to say? Are you talking about how you see spirit on Carol's left side, or you see spirit on your left side? I think she's saying on her own left side, but just clarify that, Jessie. Kat. And yes, it is a she, LOL. Yeah, just on Carol's left side. So she sees spirit on your left side.
Okay, Jessica, I do not see that. So it's like, is it my left, or my, I don't know. Thank you for that.
That's a great question, right? Because it's like the camera is, on what appears to be her left, right side. Yeah, to clarify.
Well, and it's interesting, Jessica. I mean, it could be several people, so I don't know. My parents are both gone, but I have back there. You probably can't really see it, but some of my favorite mentors who are all passed, which is Wayne Dyer, Fred Rogers, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is back there, and Desmond Tutu. Those are my spirit team people. So,
wow. Yeah, I didn't know that, and I'm seeing some of them right now. I can see Fred Rogers and Dr. Wayne Dyer, Dryer. I always say his name wrong. Forgive me, Dyer. Very crisply. It is by the red pillow or the window. That side she's talking about.
Okay, so that would be my right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And that's more in the energy of all your support, right?
Yeah.
What we just talked about. So, hey, I like it. A lot of times people have like pretty strong guides around their right side. Those are the ones that pop in from time to time, like the back kind of right side. So it's interesting to hear about when people see them. So yeah, a little spirit discussion there for a moment. Carol, what are you working on now where people can be a part of? And I know I see your website on the screen, but are there any other platforms that people can be a part of with you too?
Yeah, you could join me on Facebook. I have Positive Focus page, and then I have my coaching page, Carol C.C. Miller. I have a Embrace Your Life group that people can join, and that's where I do the card pulls at. But right now, I'm really just working on my coaching practice. I just had, it did not have a large turnout, which I'm not at all surprised at, the Global Hugs in 2022. So the next one will be 2023 in May, which is the normal month that I do it in. But I figured I was not surprised with COVID and people getting used to being out and about again. So we're back at it again in May.
That's an extraordinary project that you do. You're like so external, and you deal so much with the internal of helping people. It's awesome.
Yeah, I just find I started doing free hugs in 2008, and it was really impactful on seeing people's experience. Like it's a short, like 30 seconds or less, even a lot of times, but you're actually witnessing somebody for a few moments, and the power of them feeling seen has really been impactful. And I just got lots of stories on how it's impacted other people. And it really did change the trajectory of my life to even go further into the work that I do.
I always love to hear about it because it's just, you know, you never know who is going to hug you, right? And what it's going to do for them.
Yeah.
And I always like to ask too, before we go, I like to give the opportunity back to the guest, you know, with the last word. Is there some wisdom that you'd like to impart, or is there some inspiration that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, I think the biggest part for me is to really be gentle with yourself, whatever you're experiencing, whether you're in a moment of celebration in your life or if you're in a moment of sorrow in your life, to know I'm a big believer that this is a beautiful and messy world that we live in. So the more that you can find some gentleness and compassion for yourself and build that up within yourself, the easier it will be for you to find that within others as well.
Well said, beautifully said. Thank you so much, Carol, for being here today. And everyone, please take those nuggets and run with them. I wish you a fantastic Wednesday. Everybody go with love, light, luck, and don't forget to live. Take care. See you soon.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.